Hello and welcome back to an episode of Kerbal Explosive Colonisation. For anybody that's a regular viewer, I apologise for how long this has taken, but I've been trying to figure out how to get off of Eve with my little Kerbals, and it's been taking a while. So, just to start us off here, we have one of our transfer vehicles. Now, this is a utility vehicle that I've made for Minmus. And essentially I have made it out of the new parts from the DSEV mod, thanks to Angel 120, which gives me the ability to reconfigure the central storage tank for different things. Now, at the moment it's configured with equipment in it, but it means that I can transfer different resources and I can reconfigure it on the fly. So we were just burning that out there to Minmus, and here we have the Hammerhead, which is just circularising after coming back from Minmus. It was launched from the scrap heap station. And I've come up with a bit of an idea for this. Now, I didn't have an idea when I created it, and I just sort of built it on the fly, but I came up with a good idea, so you shall see. Now, here we have one of the rockets from the Kines mod. Kines mod? I think that's how you say it. I quite like these little things. These are basically little KISS containers. They're flyable ships. I believe they're an idea from the European Space Agency. And somebody puts all of these amazing things into the one mod. So I built a rocket almost entirely out of their parts. The landing legs are something separate. But I launched one of these out to give me some enriched uranium out at the base. I need that out at Minmus. So I figured I would send it in this, just put a container of it into the KISS parts. And here's just bringing back the rocket. And something that I only recently discovered is that in MechJeb there is a setting that can just point you up, which is sorely needed from the main game. But it helps beautifully landing rockets on retro propulsion. So there was the first time I landed a rocket without anything breaking at all. So I kept in that landing. Now here we have our little ship, and it's just a little lander, little basic lander, single solar panel. It can carry 2 Kerbals, but it's just one in it to give me more life support, and there's a little bit of extra life support added on it. And what I discover is that I don't have the Delta V to land once I've launched it. I miscalculated. I've calculated before I added the uranium tanks. So I figured I would send another one out there, and this is my reusable launcher, again from the OPT mod, but I figured this was a good way to launch it. So we just get it into a fairly high orbit, for me at least, and drop out our little launcher, which is almost the exact same thing but with a huge monopropellant tank on the back and a little docking adapter just in case. I usually, on my mid stages, I usually put on a probe car and a docking adapter just in case, and then get it ready to transfer it out. And then we just bring back our reusable things. We let it orbit once. Oh, tell a lie, we don't let it orbit once. This was my most aggressive landing. This is my example of a SpaceX burn back. So I just turn it around because I've got so much Delta V in this thing. It's used to launching a lot heavier payloads, and burn back into the atmosphere. Obviously I burn fairly low because I've stopped dead in space. So I fly all the way back, and then I mess about and explode. So yes. So on the next orbit we sort out our life support, and as you can see there, I've put the nuclear drum on the bottom, and that was just so that I could work out my Delta V properly, so I could add some extra KISS things into it. And then we jump forward a little bit and we land our first ship. Now this has been a bit of a problem, and this is part of the reason it took so long, is because I had to keep jumping between multiple ships, because of for some reason TAC life support in my particular version does not update the other ships. I've checked everything that it could possibly be, I don't know what it is. I have background processing enabled and installed as well, and I can't take it out because otherwise all of the timers just set to minus 17 years and Kerbal's dying. Even when I turn the Kerbal's dying off, it still is minus 17 years. So this is what I have to manage at the moment, and I'm trying to limit where I'm putting my Kerbals because of it. But this took so long that, because obviously every time I return to my command center, every second return crashes the game. So this takes hours and hours, and every once in a while it crashes and I just can't be bothered with it for a while. So this is what I've sort of been fighting with. But here we go. Just bringing this down here. There's some things that I need to do, so I can't really reset what I want to do or delete bases and things like that just yet. So it is suffer in silence. Obviously not silence because I'm talking about it, so just suffer and whinge. But here we go, this is a first craft landed. A little bit of a jostle to get it closer. And another jostle and moving about. I basically want to get it close enough that the pipe connectors sort of line up with the base. I tried using the new version of the Kerbal attachment system with the flexible connectors, and every time I loaded the base it disconnected. I tried it just with 2 pieces, and every time I loaded in it disconnected. It was becoming a bit of a pain, so I just went back to the original KISS pipes. They break, oh, the pipes don't break, but occasionally the connectors break, and oh well, these things you manage with in Kerbal. There was just a little adjustment burn so that I get a free return trajectory back to Kerbal on my first one, because I don't have the Delta V to land. And now on the second one we're just getting our burn ready for a landing. And as per usual, I don't land, I'm not a professional, so I don't land well enough to be able to get it on the night side on the light side when I'm landing, and I end up landing in the dark again. And just because I had to jump between things, and I got an alarm for this. This is a random probe core for something that exploded ages ago. That flashed up an alarm and I jumped to it. And it was actually in the atmosphere. So while it crashed, I decided to try and land it. And as you can see here, I managed to glide land a probe core in Eve. So, how's that for a successful landing? Well, back to it, we are landing our little lander. Obviously I've got a lot of Delta V on this now, so I actually bring the tank all the way down to the surface with me, just because extra Delta V is always good. So I try and bring it out to the side, and then use the main engines to adjust and bring myself over to the base. And a smooth landing, not where I want to be, but I figured I'd land and try and be a bit professional and jump to the daylight. So time warping along, and you can see all the strange alarms I get here. And then using the engines, just burn a little bit closer. Now, one of the tricks I've found is that when I return to the KSC is when the game crashes. So what I've actually done is I've set a whole load of alarms 99 years in the future for a specific craft, and I can jump through them using Kerbal alarm clock, which is a good workaround if anybody's having that problem. It does mean you're still doing a scene change and a load every time. That takes a while, and my game obviously is fairly heavy modded, and the save file is massive, so it still takes a bit of time. But here we go, just linking everything up so that I can close down the reactor and get the enriched uranium loaded in. Now that base can also mine its own enriched uranium, but I didn't have enough, I wasn't getting it fast enough, so I thought I'd bring some out. And now on a free return trajectory, I'm just burning a bit of monopropellant to try and slow down because of how fast I'm coming at the atmosphere, and I've never properly re-entered one of these from sort of interstellar speeds, so I am fairly nervous about doing it. So solar panel away, tuck herself up slightly, these things have massively overpowered reaction wheels. And then you can see there what I actually did was turn it over and tip it into the atmosphere to try and pull me into it, which did work. It kept me in the atmosphere for a lot longer, but I still had to do another rotation, so another orbit round. And then still tucking down, we managed to get in and get over some land. And this is where I realise that I didn't include any landing gear. No parachute, no landing gear, no nothing. So, oh well, another Kerbal bites the dust. So here's my main accomplishment for this video. This is launching the Avatar ship. Now this is something that I designed a while ago, but I've never really had a purpose to build. And I still don't, but I just wanted to build the thing. As you can see, it is slightly larger than most things. Obviously my base for a comparison is pretty good. There's tweak scale going on here. The main body is DSEV. The cryo tanks from Nearty's mods are the main fuel tanks for this. I absolutely love the cryo tanks. I think they look fantastic. So they're in this as well. Some big radiators, which I believe are from the heat mod. That could be wrong, they might be from something else. I think they're from Nearty's heat mod, but don't quote me on that. And then a little factory on the bottom for manufacturing parts. The OSE workshop mod, I believe it is. And then the beautiful challenge of transferring all of the fuel and things from the base. And this is 4 times time acceleration, and I cut out about an hour's worth of footage. But we eventually get it filled, bring out a Kerbal to disconnect the pipe, get back in, and it's time to launch. And again, these engines are from the DSEV mod. They are my absolute favourite engines for spacecraft. They do make it a little bit difficult because you have to turn them on and turn them off. You don't want them burning fusion pellets all the time. But I know that Angel probably said there's a better way to use them. I'm just too lazy to learn. But yeah, they take a fair bit of power to turn them on, and they run on fusion pellets permanently. But they generate power once they're turned on. But so this is my Avatar ship. So this will be my main ship that I'm going to use to take a base out to Lathe. I want to put a base down on Lathe, and this is going to be the main transport ship for that. The reason the engines are at the front is because I intend on docking things in sections onto the rear of this. Obviously there's some docking ports on that main truss that you can see there, but things are going to be docked behind it, so putting the engines at the front helps with any wiggling you get in the actual docking ports, especially if there's multiple parts that are sort of connected that way. But for the moment we have just a little bit of an orbital adjustment on Hammerhead, and then this beautiful ship. Now if anybody has seen this mod or has seen the film Interstellar, they should know what this is. There's a beautiful mod that sort of manages all of these parts, and I absolutely love it, and I play about with it for a while. It's a little bit overpowered, but I don't mind. I just think it looks absolutely brilliant, and after trying so many different ways of getting off of Eve, I literally lost the will to live. I've had so many explosions and accidents and skunk works that I just sort of gave up. But I did manage to get this in, and to be sort of fair, what I've done is putting the landing gear on the side. They explode fairly easily, so I had to work out a way of getting onto the ground that didn't do that. So I think that's sort of levelling out the difficulty, sort of. But here we try and dock with the Hammerhead, and obviously these two ships were never designed to go together, so I have a bit of a problem with the radiators, and one of them breaks. Here's the second one going up. Now these have, on the bottom of them, they have KISS cargo pods that they're taking as well. And yeah, these things are just, they have some equipment in them, they have a lot of equipment in them. But these are going to be my main sort of transport ships. So just getting them up docked to the Hammerhead. Again, I forget to retract some radiators to try and make this fit. But this is my sort of solution for Eve for the moment. We shall see if it works. And now we have just one of my little probes. I've used these before. They're just little refueling probes. It's got some cargo pods, and it's just got glycerol, uranium, and some other things in it, some liquid fuel in it to refill all the ships on the side. Just so that we have enough to actually get us going once we get to Eve. And here is my final lander. So this is another Eve lander, and it has some equipment on the bottom of it. As you can see, the sort of section in the middle is a heat shield. So this thing is basically an aggressive lander. It's not built to take off again, but it is built to transport a lot of people down to Eve. Basically what I'm going to do is I'm just going to leave it in orbit at Eve for the moment. It has some equipment on it for forging a new base or making a new base, and I might take it down and just drop it down as is, but we'll see how that sort of works. I'm not quite sure yet. And then last for today is just returning our probe, our little refueler there. This is a bit of a funny refueler. It has some wings that help lift, and it's usually used for moving heavy loads. I use it as a life support refueler. It's got a tank inside the rear cargo bay that you can see. It's got a tank that's just full of life support, and it's not detachable or anything. And I just have this set up all the time for moving things out. It also has the Delta V to get out to Minmus. Technically, it has the Delta V to get out to Juna or Eve. But as you can see, I'm just having a bit of problems here. It kept rolling to the left, and I just couldn't control it. I brought the wings back in and I lost the ability to pitch up. I don't know why. So there we go, our final explosion for the day. So I hope you enjoyed that. I shall see you next time once I figure out what's going on. And here was just a random explosion the first time I tried to connect the Avatar ship to the pipes. That was a quick save reload.